then I get hurt and I'm going home. So the first couple months of that, she was just real sad because she was like traveling along. She didn't want to travel with anybody. Then she traveled with some of the girls, but she was just so different from them because our relationship had been just grown, just like being best friends and doing whatever for each other, but just literally being best friends, you know, and just like knowing that we're there for each other. So as time goes on, I'm at home, and there's a part of me at home where I'd kind of remove myself from the business because I'd just been so about the business, and I just started enjoying things at home, and I was like fixing up my house, and I was thinking about, wow, it would be cool to be at home and be married or have kids or, you know, have a bunch of animals or do whatever, but live like a normal
like
home.
Jeff.
No, actually be at home and live a normal life.
Yes.
Normal. Normal is the key word there.
Yes.
But nothing against
no
Jeff.
10 dogs.
No slight.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, that went down, and then there was a point where she'd stopped riding with the girls and she rode by herself again for a while, and she was just like real sad, and just she liked being at home and hanging out. And I remember with the weekend right before this. Well, actually, no, I'll take it back. It was during this. There was a point where she said, "Well, I'm not really riding with anybody." She said, "You know, Adam's not riding with anybody, so he's gonna jump in." And I was like, "Okay, cool, that's cool."
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
how
like
could you
somebody
possibly suspect?
Yeah, it's just like with having your brother there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they rode a couple weeks, and I remember there was a point like the first time I really, you know, anything went on, I guess, was towards early in December. But you know,
2004, just.
Of 2004, yes.
Yeah.
But the Thanksgiving weekend, right there around Thanksgiving, I remember Amy, we went out, we were wanting a hot tub, and she actually went out and paid $12,000 cash for a hot tub. She said, well, let's go ahead and get this. She said, we're going to be here for the rest of our lives, so, you know, let's go ahead and get this. I mean, so that's definitely a sign,
Yeah.
you know, that's what's in her
She
mind.
could have easily not said that, and it wouldn't have been suspicious. So, you know, she offered that up. That was a clear sign of commitment.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there was, and she would say it herself, like, the spot she ended up getting into, she has no idea, you know, how it happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess what happened was Adam came to her, and he'd just been married 2 or 3 months earlier, and he just had all these problems, and a lot of them stem from himself, and, you know, maybe he shouldn't have been married, but then he starts really, you know, confining all his problems in her, and the ironic thing about this is, like, she started spinning off about how great our relationship was. Well, you know, Matt would never do that to me, or I'd never do that to him, and this is great, da, 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 da. But then there was a point in there where I think Adam, when confining with her, like, did something different that she didn't even think she likes or didn't know she likes, and was very, like, treat her very girly or very ladylike. I think that's what the thing was, which is not like anything I didn't do, and we never had any problems, but it was like a different approach and something we didn't really have in our relationship necessarily, I think is what it was.
Because you guys started off as pals to a degree, and it grew into something a lot more quickly. Yeah.
And what his intentions were, I could say I don't know, but it's just hard to suspect that there weren't intentions.
Yeah.
Especially with this.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole deal was, it's just like being away, that road, that separation, you know, it's very easy to become disconnected with somebody. And even though we'd come home and everything would be good, but it was almost like, I really feel, just like the more I've looked into the situation, it's just like she was kind of intrigued or just had a weird curiosity about something that she didn't know that she even liked or had been interested in. And then, like, I think once it started, then he continued the pressure.
And he kind of saw it happening and maybe fed it.
But what was odd is just like she had to be living 2 lives, because we'd come home and everything would be absolutely great, and there was never any kind of change.
Wow.
But, you know, I guess there was this kind of, and it's really like people think of like it's just a physical deal, and really it wasn't a physical deal. It was a mental deal more than anything else. But in some ways, a mental deal is worse than a physical deal, as you know what I'm saying. But then, you know, there comes a time where I was going to her surgery in Birmingham where she got hurt, and I really felt like the small amount of physical interaction they had, which is not as great as people think, but it was right before that.
Yeah.
And it was like that weekend that she tears her ACL and everything that I did in my knee. And I really feel like, you talked about religion earlier, like I'm not a religious zealot, you know what I mean? But I believe in God, and I believe in things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And I definitely believe in a higher power, and I just think there was a point where she was supposed to be sent home to like try and get her head screwed on straight.
Keep things from getting even worse than it was.
Than what happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was driving down to her surgery that day, and just to give you an example of what kind of boyfriend I was, and once again, ironically enough, I'll back this up, you know, that whole girly aspect or whatever, or spoiling a girl, I think is how Adam likes to describe it, was something that whenever she'd get hurt with surgery or Christmas, like we'd had real good, like I'd had flowers, when she came home from being hurt, from Puerto Rico, I had flowers and I had wine and I had a gift and a card for her, and just things that I hadn't done because I was raised with such a hard dad, but things that while I was at home started thinking about more of a family life. And it's funny because like even if that's something that she was interested in that she didn't know, like I was already becoming that. at this point, and especially at the Valentine's Day, you know, which was getting right towards the end before I found this out, which is really sad looking back in retrospect.
The timing of it, yeah.
And you know, we were driving down that night, or I was. She flew and actually drove her to the airport, which was an hour out of the way. I was going to make an 8-hour drive to Birmingham because it was the only way I could work out my schedule. I couldn't fly and get back in time to go to appearances my next day after that. So I actually drove an hour out of the way to Raleigh to drop her off at the airport, make sure she got there safe. And then I started that 8-hour drive, and once I got about 2 or 3 hours into the drive, she'd actually called and said she'd forgot her MRIs. And like they couldn't do her surgery without her MRI, so I had to turn around and drive 2 hours back home and then make the whole 8-hour drive again. So I literally drove for, I drove for like 13 hours that day.
Yeah.
And while I was, during the course of this drive, I got a phone call, and it was, I'd called a lot of people on the road just kind of burning up time, and I called Adam actually, because I actually, oddly enough, it was a little suspicious, like I hadn't talked to him in a while. And I got a call from his home, and I just remember picking up the phone, like, hey boy, what's going on? Matt, this is Lisa. And it's just, his wife had found, you know, a text message.
Yeah.
You know, I text messages from him, and one from Amy to him just saying, I'm going to really miss seeing you on the road. Love being with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really, really odd. And it just gave you that real weird feeling. And then I just remember calling her and asking her directly about it, and she absolutely confessed up to it. Said, yeah, I did leave that text message. I probably shouldn't have, or whatever. She said,
She was quick on her feet, basically, in retrospect.
Yeah.
She knew how to disarm you, at least, somewhat.
I guess, yeah. I mean, she was just like, well, you'll see as time goes on, but she was really searching for a way to get herself out of this.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know what to do. She said, yeah, I did do that. She said, we'll talk about it later, or whatever. You know, if you want to. She said, yeah, but it's no big deal, whatever. And then I remember talking to Adam about this. Hey, man, call me when you get a chance. And I said, man, what's up with this text message that Amy sent you? I said, did she send you one? He said, yeah, she just sent a text message just saying that, yeah, she's having surgery tomorrow and what time it is, and she's going to have it in Birmingham. But, you know, that's been my main heat with him, that just his dishonesty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that was the first time you ever brought it up to him, and you got a completely false answer from him.
Yeah.
He held back the real deal.
Yeah. And then, anyway, drove down there, went to the surgery, and was there. Well, actually, I picked her up in Atlanta at her mother's, and then we were going to drive over to Birmingham together. And I remember just getting in the car, and it was very awkward, very tense, because I was wanting to speak to her about this, and I was kind of wanting her to bring it up first, talk about it. Then eventually, halfway through, I said, hey, what's up with that text message? That makes me feel very awkward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said, why is Lisa calling me about that? She said, oh, I thought she was going to ask about this. She said, I did send that. She said, it was just kind of like as a friend thing. You know, I was just kind of, I was buzzed because I'd been taking those painkillers and drinking. And, you know, and she said, but really, she said, I probably did while I was on the road with him, because I was traveling with him those last couple of months, and I was spending actually more or as much time with him as I was you, and I probably, like, made a connection with him that I shouldn't have made. She said, but, you know, I shouldn't have done that. She said, but I think that'll be over now that I've had my, you know, that I'm having the surgery and I'm going to be at home. And it was like an answer you didn't want to hear, but at the same time, it kind of made you feel better because
it felt honest.
Felt honest,
yeah.
and it really was honest to a degree, not all the way, but to a degree. And then, you know, we got there, went to the deal, and like she set up the next morning, she had her surgery, and I remember just like, you know, giving her a kiss and holding her hand, and she was going in, just very emotional, and she was just so upset. And part of it was like she was so upset because she knew there was a weird feeling within me that I felt awkward, and she knew that she needed me there the whole while to do this.
Yeah.
She had her surgery, it was fine. I sat with her that day, and everything seemed to be cool. I remember getting back on the road and driving home. But it was real sad. Later, once everything came back out, I looked at phone bills that day, and like her and Adam had talked for like three or 4 hours while I was driving that day, going through all that shit, which was brutal.
Yeah.
You know, and very shortly after I left, you know, back on the phone with them again. You know, which was very heartbreaking looking back in retrospect, which is the stuff that drives you temporarily insane.
Yeah.
And anyway, she'd had the surgery. She ends up coming back home. Things were okay, like, for a week or so, and then, like, Valentine's Day came around, and it's like, I bought her all this shit for Valentine's Day, and, like, she had a very limited amount of stuff for me, and that definitely threw a flag. And I just saw, like, on her one phone, she had a phone that was, like, in my package, and there was a call from Adam there. And I was like, why is this motherfucker calling you? Valentine's Day. I said, this is odd. I said, I don't want you speaking to him anymore. I said, this is very, very weird. I said, I don't know what's going on here. I said, I don't know what this weird deal is. She said, oh, okay, you know, you're right, I shouldn't, or whatever, da-da-da-da. And then we had a couple days where it was just very tense, and I knew something was wrong. And she admitted, she said, well, I just think there's a part of me, I'm just not sure what I'm feeling right now, and I think maybe I should go stay with my mom for a few days and try and clear my head or work things out. And then we actually got into a real big argument. She actually drove off for the day, and like it was a Friday of that week. She drove off for the day just like to go and think. And I remember I got on the phone and I'd called some people, and I remember calling Adam, and I said, hey man, you know, what's up with you and my girlfriend? What's going on? Something's very odd here.
Yeah.
I said, if she calls you, don't answer. And as a man and as a friend, do not call her. And he said, I won't, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. And he buddied me a lot. Buddy, I won't.
That can be scary when you hear that word.
And it's just like, all it took is some honesty.
Yeah.
Anywhere in this, and things could have been figured out or resolved.
Yeah.
So I just figured, dude, it's like, as a friend, I mean, I would still believe what he's saying at that point.
Yeah.
And what happened was Amy came home that night, and she did realize, she told me, she said, I've really been fucked up, and my head's not where it needs to be, she says, and I'm going to fix it, she said, and I'm sorry, I apologize. And I remember that night, we had one of the most passionate love-making sessions we've ever had.
Yeah.
Because she'd been gone all day, and I actually went out with some of my friends, and I drank, and I said, we'll come home, we'll talk about things, and we talked about things, and it was very, very passionate. It was.
And was she honest with you that as much as she could be that evening, or not very much?
No, I mean, just the thing she was saying. The thing she was saying was just that her head was messed up and not where it needed to be, but she was going to fix it.
So okay, so it felt honest to you, but it wasn't.
And something she told Adam is that she didn't need to be talking to him anymore.
Yeah.
Because she's fucked up. You know what I mean? Because really, like at this point, she's just like got feelings for two people.
Yeah.
So then we spend this weekend together, and like we have a really good weekend, and then there's a point where she had an appearance on Sunday, but then came back home Monday, and everything was very, very good, and it seemed like we were getting back on the right track. And then I happened to go pick up her other phone, which happened to be sitting there, and I checked the messages, where I've never done shit like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked them, and Adam had just burned up her phone with messages, just saying, I just want you to know, I love you, and if you're going to be with Matt and not with me, I don't think I can live with myself, and just please call me.
These are text messages or voice?
Voice messages.
And you listened to them?
Yes.
Yep.
And like we'd had a great night, a very intimate night again together. I just like got up to get water, like in the middle of the night in the kitchen. I just saw her other phone there, and just so odd. I just remember just seeing the phone. It was like in a movie. I just looked at the phone, and it's just like you zoom into it, just going like. Actually, she hadn't been using that phone because that was her own phone. I'd like bought a phone and put it on my package, and that's what she used.
Yeah.
And this other phone, and I checked in these messages, and I just remember hearing them, just like, holy fuck, and I'm just like freaking out. And I just remember. Because the first thing I do, and we had Sprint phones, and I forwarded them to my phone, just because I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I forwarded them to my phone. I forwarded them to Shane, too, who's one of my better friends. It's like, fucking listen to this. I don't know what's going on, but something is, and I'm getting ready to get to the bottom of it. And then I go in there, and I ask Amy about this stuff. And, she just breaks down crying and confesses to quite a bit of it, not quite all.
Yeah.
And then I'm irate, and I'm going, people don't say I love you when, this isn't going on where. People don't say I love you without having sex, but that was denied, and even still to this point, like, I really don't think that's happened. It could have, but other stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just remember I was irate. I was throwing lamps and shit, and I just don't do that, dude. I don't get mad. And then I was like, get the fuck out of my house. And looking back in retrospect, I wish I would have handled it differently.
Really?
But I didn't.
Because, some people would say there's nothing you could do that wouldn't be justified at that point.
Yeah, there isn't, really. But just looking back in retrospect, there's a lot of things in this whole thing because I've never been involved in anything like this. But, then she leaves, and she's just upset and wanting to talk to me about things and, like, trying to explain. But, there's nothing to explain that can really justify at this point. And then she leaves to go to her mother's. And just looking back is just like, the thing that I hate is that she made a huge mistake by being weak in the first place and letting this happen without communicating with me. And then just like, she was guilty, and she was like trying to get herself out of this without telling me and trying to just like kind of let this happen, then move back on and get here. Yeah. But she was just still pressured so much, all the time. And it's just, and then too, once again, she wasn't strong enough to avoid this pressure.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, she'd been asked to leave, and just like, she was really afraid to talk to me because she just didn't want to say the wrong things for a certain amount of time. And then she'd left to go to her mother's, and then there would be times where a couple days later I'd try to calm down and said, look, there's only a small window of salvageability for this stuff. If we're going to salvage something, we need to figure out, and why did this happen? And, she just didn't know. She said, if I knew, it would be easy, but I don't. And I just almost look back like the thing with Susie, as I was saying earlier, where I saw that something could happen, but I was able to put on the brakes where she didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's why I told that in the story.
Yeah.
It's a very similar situation.
Yes.
And then just for it to be one of my close friends, that's just like, that's just like having two knives put in your back.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And as far as your friends in World Wrestling Entertainment over the years, Edge is top 2, top 3 of every top 4. He was one of your closest friends. This isn't an acquaintance who you hung out with a little bit. This is somebody who you've said if you guys were not in wrestling but lived a block away from each other, you'd hang out a lot. These are the guys who you were identified with career-wise, but also on the road. One of your best friends. Yeah,
there were, there's only a handful of guys, and he would be one of those guys. It would be one of my closer friends.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's just something you would never suspect, especially because you think he's like, just a good quality human being.
And you knew what he was like on the road. He had been married twice, and you knew, I mean...
Yeah, I did know that he had some relationship problems, but really the stuff that we never talked about before.
Yeah.
And as far as him being on the road, like, I really never saw that side of him, but I've heard things even, since then, and other things where, there could be problems there, from that side, just as far as relationship problems.
But you didn't know it at the time. You did not know he might be a high percentage candidate to maybe be messing around with.
No, I never thought it. Just out of respect for both of us, and considering how well I knew Amy, I would never. I mean, like, really, if I would have had to bet my life on that happening, I would have lost my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honest to God.
Yeah. So so go ahead. You start finding out more and more about what's going on. You investigate.
So anyway, I found out these messages, and I kind of get an idea of what has gone on, which I've kind of told you already. That's kind of how we got to where things were. So then, during the course of this week, and I actually, I'd called Adam right after I found this out, like after I'd been upset with Amy and told her to get the fuck out of my house. And I remember calling Adam, and I guess he was flying home, and I was like, you motherfucker, when I see you, I'm going to slap the fuck out of your mouth. He said, call me back. So I just heard your messages, just irate as I could be. And then I remember getting a call back, just apologetic. I'm sorry, it's not too late. You guys can still work things out. You can still make it through this. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. And, buddy, I'm just so sorry. I want to fly up there and see you. I said, you do not want to fly up here and see me. I said, actually, I'll take that back. Please, fly up here and see me.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I said that.
Yeah.
And then he was just blah, 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 blah. And I said, by the way, if it makes you feel any better, I said, I've called your wife and left those messages on her machine. So, I know that he knew that had happened too. And he's just like, oh. So I'm just so sorry. He said, it's just not too late for you guys. It's just not too late for you guys. I just remember saying that over and over. But it's just like later I got copies of Amy's phone bill because I had her info with his phone. It's just like, he never stopped calling. It's not like he tried to stop this.
Even while he's telling you it's not too late for you guys.
Like,
he hangs up the phone and boom, calls her.
Sure, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, just absolutely, being dishonest with me. Saying one thing and meaning another.
Yeah.
And then there came a point where I talked to him a couple times over the course of those couple of days. And, I called them both, Amy, and I just said, look, I said, I don't really understand how this happened, but what you guys are doing is just like a drug. I said, it started off where I guess there was a little bit, and then like you're like, oh, I want a little bit more, and then it kept building and building and building. I said, now you guys are out of control. And I said, like, if you don't stop, you're just going to like kill yourselves. I said, this is going to just turn into a disaster. I said, if anybody's going to salvage their relationships here. And just like, I remember one of his big points, he was going, well, just let's, don't tell anybody, He says, we can fix this or whatever. And I was just real, especially being so angry in the beginning, I was very split on that and torn on that because, like, in a way, I didn't want to tell anybody. I wanted to kind of just go away and, like, let me and Amy try and work things out, but just because I still, love her so much.
Yeah.
And then there was another part of me who's like, you motherfuckers, you're not going to get away with this. You know what I mean? And I definitely wanted to tell my close friends so they would believe me, just because it was such an unbelievable episode.
Yeah.
And kind of as time went on, like those couple days, like I really would have not told many people. But the thing was, like, I talked to Adam too, and like I said, the same thing, drug reference, and don't do this, and let's try and salvage something if we're going to salvage it, whatever. And then I said, you guys just shouldn't talk to each other. Let you try and figure out your relationship, and let us try and figure out our relationship. And he said, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we shouldn't do that, or maybe we should do that. Maybe we shouldn't talk or whatever. And there were just a couple days where they went without talking, but I know, like, he told Christian, which got back to Jericho, he's like, fuck it. My wife left, and she's upset when to Colorado. I'm going to call Amy. And it's just like, he said that he wasn't, and he didn't. He wasn't making an effort to correct anything.
Yeah.
Is where my big problem was. And that's the kind of things that really drove me over the edge. Mm-hmm. And then especially, like, when he wasn't making an effort, then that would be 20 more people I'd call, listen, this motherfucker, da-da-da-da, and I'll run into him again.
Yeah.
So now the story's just growing. And it's just... There was one point too, which I guess the first thing, which looking back in retrospect was a mistake. But like I just remember all the pictures in the house I had of me and Amy being so happy. I just everything just came down. It was sickening to look at.
Yeah.
Especially considering circumstances involved. And I just remember being at my website and I told her, I said, take those pictures down. And I didn't have intentions of doing this, but then people said, like, why is Amy's pictures down? Why is Amy's pictures down? And I was just like, well, if you don't know why they're down, I think you should ask her.
Yeah, I remember that.
And really, like, looking back in retrospect, shouldn't have did that. But it was just one of those things where when you're being lied to and dishonest, it's just like you're looking for anything to kind of leash out and vent.
Yeah.
And then the story started breaking out, and then, like, everybody was starting to know about it. And then, like, once the story did start spreading, like, the first thing I wanted people to know was, like, I had never did anything wrong with Amy. It's not like I was mean to her. I was great to her. Like, as good as she can get, really. I mean, like, as far as asking for a good relationship.
And you knew no one was going to contradict that. Nobody has. I mean.
No, it's impossible to.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, well, you can lie, but even no one's
Yeah,
to do that.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And and then that just led to things. And then there were other just incidents that would go on where you think like, me and Amy would have this good conversation, but then like, she really I just feel bad for her, and it's not like I'm just defending her now because she was the one I loved and Adam I didn't, but she at least has been sincere and very honest throughout the thing, where Adam was the one who was just always trying to backpedal and just, say, you make up a lie after lie. He was very dishonest, just trying to cover his tracks. Like, dude, you've already done wrong. Everything's out. Let's go ahead and either be honest and figure this out or not. And especially with his wife, he was real bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then there would just be times where it seemed like Amy and I would have a couple good days as far as like trying to talk about things, and then like something would happen where his wife would tell me something he said to her, or vice versa, and there was just so much he said, she said in this mix, and then it would just really blow me up because I was really an emotional wreck during this.
Yeah.
And then once this stuff did get back to the office, there was a point where they said, look, we want you guys to figure this out. And they didn't want me to come to the Raleigh show because they were the TV, the Raw in Raleigh, because they were worried there was going to be a physical altercation. They said, so you guys figure this out, and this isn't our job. We don't have anything to do with this. They're on TV. We don't care.
Yep.
So you guys figure this out. So I was the one trying to be the bigger person again because nobody else was really stepping up, because Amy's thing is just I fight, man. When I get back into a corner, I fight, or I don't sit there and wait for something to happen. I try and make something happen.
Yeah.
And even during this, they said, okay, well, you guys figure it out. And now I know it's starting to affect work. So I actually called her and said, look, before this Raleigh show, they don't want me to go. I said, let's get together, all three of us, and fucking sit down and talk about this. Everybody's going to be in there, which nobody really knew about this either. That's the only time I'd been in his presence as well, the Fayetteville House show.
Okay.
We actually all sat down before that Raleigh TV event that morning and sat down and said, what are we going to do here? In a hotel room.
Wow. Just you three?
Just us three.
Wow.
And it was me on one side, Amy in the middle, and him on the other side. And
just put a time frame on it. How many days had gone by or weeks since you first confirmed on those
probably
phone
2
messages?
weeks.
Okay,
2 weeks.
So you're still pretty heated, but you've
very heated.
You've had a little time to cool off, but then also a number of reasons to be upset again.
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was just reasons. There kept being reasons to be upset again over this.
Yep.
And it's just basically the whole principle of that meeting. The whole reason we were going to have it was just to figure out how are we going to address this situation. And now it's fucking work up.
Yep.
And we sat down there, and it's pretty general. I said, okay, well, I could go to SmackDown, or and my thing was I said, Adam, really? I said, if Amy and I are going to try and work things out, which she has expressed that, and I know she's got these feelings with you, I really think you should go to SmackDown. You should volunteer to, and let us try and see if we are going to work things out. Because if I go there and we separate, then that's definitely it.
Yep.
And then he obviously didn't want to do that because he wanted to be wherever she was going to be, and it was just, we talked about all the options, and whatever. I guess we could have did it on the phone. It was just very, very tense, and just sitting there, a lot of cold stares.
Well, I was going to say, was he being buddy-buddy with you, trying to be cool, or was he very cold and distant?
It was just very cold and distant
Okay.
on all behalves.
Yeah.
And, and just the big deal was, he's just, I know you don't want to hear this, and I don't know this happened, but I love her, and I can't stop.
You said that, or Ed said that?
No, he said that.
Adam said that, yeah.
But I love her, and I just can't stop. Yeah.
Wow.
That's I just remember just looking at her going.
Yeah. Well, at least he wasn't denying it anymore. I mean, at least you got some honesty out of him. He was being upfront with you about that, as bad as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and I was just like, just look at this. I said, look at these three people sitting in this room. I was like, how in the fuck did we get into this mess? This is absolutely absurd. And my thing, I've said 5 zillion times, I said, I can't believe this is my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, that happened, and then the bad thing was, they go to TV, and then I guess if management did talk to them about this meeting, it's just I became the one because I was off TV at this time, and I was shunned though, because they were like, this is a problem, you guys figure it out yourself, and they asked me not to come because they're worried about a physical problem at the building, just because, I was still in the right in the scenario, especially from a moral aspect.
Yeah.
I understand for a business aspect, he was on TV, but if they would have took us there in Raleigh and sat down with us in some management and talked about things, they would have saw that we could have worked through things at this time, and I really think that was a big mistake of theirs.
Yeah.
So then anyway, then you've got a couple weeks going on, and there's times where Amy's in Atlanta, and then Adam tells his wife he's going to Phoenix for an appearance a day early, and then he really goes to Atlanta, and then she busts him, and then Amy was trying to tell me that, but he wouldn't let her tell me that because he knew that if I knew, then I would tell his wife again. It was just
And was Amy telling Adam, stay away, I want to be done with this, or was she so confused?
No, the biggest thing was because I was so unstable. If I would get mad at her because of something she did, then she would talk to him because they were the two guilty parties in it, and that was the only person she could talk to.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I'm saying, even looking back in retrospect, if I had have been able to, but you just can't. If I could have been able to keep
that's asking a lot.
You know, yeah, that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty unrealistic. If I could have kept my cool the whole while, it would have been an easier situation, but it's just like, once again, I've never been in any of that before.
Yeah.
You know, and then like once I found out the stuff, like he's just being dishonest, and it's just digging deeper and deeper, then just my hatred and disdain towards him is growing larger and larger.
Yeah. And you still care for him, as upset as you are.
Yeah,
and you know
absolutely.
he's messing with her and driving her crazy.
Yeah.
And
I
as
mean,
mixed as
you
you're
know,
feeling.
dude, I mean, like love, it'd be nice if love was like a switch, like a light switch where you go on, off, but
Yeah.
it's far from the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On both our instances.
Yeah.
And then there came a time where there was the Fayetteville House Show. And I'd actually been in a book from them, but nobody had ever said never come there, because I was just like the one that was kind of like shunned. Just like in this situation, I was off TV and I was the one that they weren't communicating with. Adam, yeah, sure, higher on the totem pole than me, doing stuff on TV. Let's understand from a business aspect, but that still doesn't make it right the way the situation was handled.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Fayetteville House Show, I stopped by there. I ate with some of my friends before that. I hung out with some of the guys, and I just went in that day and I talked to everybody. Hey, just want to say hello to everybody. Da 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 da. And he just kind of was on his own that day. Just very uncomfortable with me being there, obviously. And that night when the show was over, my whole point of going there was just to prove, look, I can be in a building with this guy and coexist.
And not
it's
just
no problem.
spear him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no problem, and we came past it. We left there that night. I went and ate with some more of the guys. We went to Outback. Shannon was with me. We left there. We went to a club. We went to another club. We were there till like 1:30 in the morning or so, just hanging out, trying to have a good time and enjoy ourselves. We got on the road that night. It's actually the night that Shannon was in an accident where he just got in front of me and a car hit him head on. We were there till 4:30 or 5 in the morning, there all night. And lo and behold, the next day, and you know, I'm still talking with Amy every day at this point, obviously. And you know, Amy calls me the next day. She says, blah, 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 we're just talking general conversation, and you know, this, that, oh, really? I say, yeah, well, we did this last night, or we went here, or whatever. And she says, what about Adam's car? I was going, what about Adam's car? He said, I don't know if you heard this or not, but he got his tire slashed in his car band last night. I said, come on. I said, you're fucking with me, right? She said, no, really, he did. I said, come on, what? Why are you telling me this? It made me happy?
Yeah.
She said, no, really, he did. And I was going, you're kidding me. And I had no idea about it. And it was somewhere in Columbia, South Carolina, wherever he stayed there. And I was going, that's great. I said, well, that makes my day.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I told her.
Yeah.
And I mean, she can tell from talking to me, even when she told him, that it was obvious that I didn't know anything about it. I had no concept.
Yeah.
So I guess the deal was, just they thought because I was in Fayetteville, and this is the Carolinas where, once again, strong following, they thought that I automatically either did it, which it would have been physically impossible for me to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And then, or that I had somebody do it for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
And the thing that happens is that the office, I think that was the final straw, and like saying that there was going to be too much trouble and that I was going to end up being released. But lo and behold, I found out, going back to Joe and Susie, is right. Another thing where I was so upset after Amy had left, I called a couple of friends and I got Susie's number. And just out of spite, I had Susie come over, hung out with her a couple of days, and as soon as I could get a chance to become physical with Susie, I did.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that I wanted to tell Amy that, just being so outraged.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like she was the person.
Give her a taste.
I was going to talk to at that time. Just what I felt, and I knew it would hurt her
Yeah.
at the same time, just because I'd been hurt so bad, which was the right thing to do. No, but it's what I did.
Yeah.
And anyway, Susie's old boyfriend, Joe, who'd always hated me for a long time now because we'd been such good friends before, somehow had either heard about his tires being slashed, or because Joe is on drugs pretty bad and knows a bunch of real shady characters, could have possibly even done it himself. But I found out Joe actually contacted some people in the WWE and said he heard that Matt Hardy put a hit out on Adam Copeland. And that's where that information came back from. That couldn't happen. They ended up just vandalizing the car. And then for some reason, I was never asked about this and had absolutely zero, less than zero to do with it. And they ended up they assumed it was me, and then from hearing this piece of information, which I just found out a few days ago, that was the determining factor.
Wow. And what have you done with this information other than tell it here? Have you told anybody else? Like, I mean, have you told WWE? Did you talk to Amy about this? Did you talk?
Amy knows.
Yeah.
And Adam knows.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of remorse he has, but I know I think he does feel bad that I was released.
Yeah.
And he didn't think that should have happened.
Okay.
But I'm definitely going to make sure that I don't know. I haven't communicated with him obviously since then. But I'm definitely going to make sure. I only found this out a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to make sure some people know about it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty strong.
That's heavy.
It's very heavy.
That's real heavy.
You know, just on this assumption.
And are you pretty sure, based on the information you have, that was truly the final straw with management, hearing about that, and that they just either believed it or felt that, well, that's a good way for us to be able to get Matt out of the situation and keep pushing Edge?
I think so. I think they just kind of wanted to get out of the situation too.
And that was whether it was true or not, they felt.
And then too, on top of this, they were upset that I made it such a public situation.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the bigger thing.
Yeah. I don't believe for a second, my personal opinion, I don't believe for a second that if you were higher on the totem pole and Edge was out with an injury and you were making money for them or on the verge of making money for him and you had made it public, that they would have still let you go.
Right.
Because it is about business with them primarily. They're in the wrestling business, and that's what they care about first and foremost. It's not about fairness. It's not about what's
Sure,
right.
right.
If they can say, you know what, we've got edge, we've got momentum, let's do what's easier and better for business, then that's what they're going to do. But going public with it and talking as much about it with people who then talk to other people and spread the word, I mean, that was no question something they would have preferred not to have, because to them it's a personal situation that's a headache.
And it was like one of those things. I mean, it was just such a chain reaction. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because you just tell a couple of people and it spreads, and then it spreads, and it's on the net, and then once that addressed, then if I do address it at all, and then other people address it, and then like a few people chant, and then they tell other people, more people chant, and then eventually we got a full-fledged garden thing.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows how long that lasts or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, just especially with that, to shun me like that and kind of block me out of the whole scenario and not even ask me or try and speak with me on a level about like resolving the situation was very, very unfair.
And so it was Joe who called management and said
He called someone else that I know without using names, called
Sure.
someone else that had another called someone else to management.
Yeah, yeah, and made that accusation and
Yeah, and actually, and there's absolutely not, I mean, it's like, it's just such an absurd thing. Like when I heard that, I actually laughed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once I found out where it came from, wow, I was furious. I mean,
Yeah.
because I heard that there was some sort of assumption that there was a hit put on him that night. And I thought that was comical,
Yeah.
laughable. Because one, I mean, just even looking back, rationally thinking, like, why would I even chance doing something on that? If I knew that you would obviously go to jail or whatever. I mean, it's not worth it. If I was going to do anything to him, I would have went and fought him at that Fayetteville house show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I was going to be that simple-minded, like, because I didn't want to lose my job out of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And you're on good terms with Amy. You're trying to fix things.
Yeah.
That's not going to fix things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just really, really shitty.
Yeah. Yeah. That's heavy.
Yeah.